YouTubers, Brian Proctor back again with another video, and this time we're going to talk about panel work, drawing panels, keys to drawing good panels. Now, if you're into doing comic books, panel work is important. Let's just put it this way. I have been helping a number of people online try to develop their comic or try to get into comics, and a lot of people have been drawing pinups, a lot of pinups, but when time comes for them to do panel work, they are lost. They are lost. So panel work is as important as pictures in coloring books. So if you have a coloring book with no pictures, nobody's going to do that. If you're doing comics and your panel work is not good, then it's really not going to go very far. So if you're deciding to do a comic book, ask yourself, why are you trying to do this comic book? Is it because you want it to just do a book and say, I did a book? Or do you want that book to take off? Do you want the public to see that and say, man, this is great. I want to keep buying this books. I want to buy the rights to your book, your characters, so I can make movies, or toys, or so forth and so on. And I think that's the goal of everybody that wants to do comic books. But the only way to catch people's attention is to have your story good enough, and then two, have your panel work good enough so that every time you turn the page, it gets more exciting and exciting and exciting-er. So you have to be able to do panel work. So in this video, we're going to talk about doing panel work. I've got a nice little setup for you guys to look at too as well. So with that in mind, and me stop rumbling and losing my words, let's go to the drawing table and start drawing. Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about what a panel is, just for those who are really new to doing this. And I always do that because my channel is dedicated to those who are new, who haven't had these teachers to tell them. So I try to give as much information as I can, even if I have to go all the way to the start. So first of all, to do comics, you're going to need a 11 by 17 sheet of paper. Bristol board would be best. This, you don't have to use one of these professional ones. This is like a Blue Line art sheet. And this one is for cover. This is a cover sheet. It's not your basic open sheet. All you need is a regular 11 by 17 sheet of paper. And I leave the description. I left descriptions in my last video where you can buy this stuff. I think you can get 250 sheets for $25 versus 20 sheets of this for $25. So, you know, you do the math. Only thing is, it's a little thicker than the other sheets. Anyway, a panel is just a small part of a story drawn out so that you can see it. And it takes a number of panels to do a comic book. I don't want to say coloring book. So here is a page that I have done, and it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels in this. So let's just focus on one, because we're just going to do a panel. I'm not going to show you how to space them out or take them all, to move them around and blah blah blah. We're just going to go focus on one panel. So this would be just considered one panel of the overall story. So from there, let's move on to the next part. Okay, so if you are the artist, let me put something down here so you guys can see, and it won't be just black space. All right, as I was saying, if you guys are the creator and the artist, drawing a panel would be a lot easier for you. But if you are someone who wants to draw somebody's comic, that's going to be a lot harder for you to do, because if you're the creator, you already see what you want to do, and as I said, it makes it a lot easier. But if you're an artist, you have to go off somebody's script, and a lot of times, if you're not a professional, then you won't be working for professionals, because professionals are going to look for professionals to do their work for them. So if you get a script, if you're an artist and you're trying to do panel work, you get a script, the script is not going to be written out professionally. It's going to be written very openly, shall we say, so that you would have to figure out what to draw or how to draw it. So for instance, you might get something saying the hero steps through the door and sees his girlfriend dead on the floor. Just like that. They don't give you any direction. So you have to figure out what's the best way to portray that in pictures. So you have to see something from every angle to be able to determine which is going to be the best, most exciting angle to tell that part of the story. So the first thing you want to do, let's just say we have a room, and most times you're going to have somebody in a room or in a car or something like that. And there are a couple things that I would like to say. First is reference material. Reference material is your savior. Okay, I don't know what the inside of a nuclear sub looks like, or the cockpit of a 747, but I can find the pictures. So I tell a lot of people that the best thing to do is make a folder in your computer and call it background, and just go and start looking for stuff and just save the pictures, the images, like junkyard or wrecked car or fire or anything that might pertain or that you might need later on during your story. If you're doing a story about somebody in the Arctic, then you want to know what snow looks like, snow-covered mountains, snow machines, snow gear, all of that stuff. You just save all that in your background folder, and you can get detailed. You can have one with buildings, one with cars, one with clothes, one with all of that. So that's just a tip. So reference material is going to be your best friend. Okay, so let's say you have to design somebody in a room, or you have to draw somebody in a room. Let's say it's could be a control room, a bedroom, or whatever. The first thing that you should do is design your room. So most rooms are square. So let's just do this. You have a square, and this is, you're looking down, this is your floor plan. So if you're an artist, you have to be an interior designer, exterior designer. You have to be able to know to do a lot of things. That's why I say comic books are no jokes. You just don't draw superheroes fighting and punching each other. You have to know a lot of stuff to do a comic book. So let's just say this is my floor plan. This is my room. And say I put a door right here, and you can name it. Let's say a window right here, and you need all this stuff. So when you start drawing and you turning things around, you'll know where everything is going to be at. Let's say we put another window, long window right here. Another door over here. And just for the heck of it, a window right in the middle. Okay, so now you have your floor plan, basically, so you know where everything is. You got your door, 2 doors, your 3 windows. Now, a good thing to do is to make this into a checkerboard, and you're going to have to say like every inch, you have to space it out for yourself. But I'm just going to throw some lines in it, and this helps you with perspective. And I think this is going to turn into probably getting into some perspective as well. And then just say what color these. And this is something that you can do. I would highly recommend it. It definitely helps with perspective, especially when you're doing rooms. And as I say, you're going to do a lot of rooms in your time. We'll speed this up, but it's not going to take long. I don't screw it up. Okay, so now you have your floor plan looking down. So when you take that floor plan in your comic, you're not going to have all your panels like this where we're looking straight down on that room, because it just wouldn't work that way. So you're going to have to take that floor plan, and in your mind, you're going to have to tilt it up to the angle that you want to draw on or from. So let's say if you tilt this up, it's going to look like this. And I hope this is still in focus because I have this camera so close up. And 1, 2, 3 lines. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I'm not going to do that many lines. 1, 2, 3. Let's just go 4 lines. Because in your eye, in your mind's eye, shall we say, you're going to have to see how you want that angle to be seen. As I said, the best way for that picture to be seen and to be exciting. So you might have to tilt it to where it is more like this. to get that better shot, which would make, you know, the floor a little more closer together to get that shot. Now, going into perspective, once you connect all your lines, that's going to be your eye line here. So of course your eye line is here, so you're above, the eye line is above this, so you're going to be looking down at the floor. Now with this one, it's going to be a little closer, and this is how you do perspective. It's just a simple way to do perspective, and I'll show you some other stuff later. So in your mind's eye, you say to yourself, okay, this is the room that I designed. Let's go up with my walls. Let's do some ink. I think I can get away with doing ink that you guys can follow, and I won't mess up too much. So this is my wall here. I had my door here. I have my window here, and it's right here on my floor plan. And my other wall is coming, and remember, this is my point right here. So everything's going to come off of, where's my pen? Let's go blue. So everything's going to come off of this line here. This point, that line. So here's my other wall here. And anytime you do a drawing, it's just like, I'm trying to do something before I can think of my words. It's like directing. It's like directing. So you have to be a director as well. You're only going to see 2 to 3 walls whenever you're going to draw, because your camera is going to be here facing that way. So you're not going to see this back wall. Yeah, no, you're not going to see this back wall unless you just have a clear glass or something like that, but you really won't see that when you draw. So you have your long window here, and you can use these guidelines to make sure that every time you show this room, everything's going to be in the right spot. But since I did not do this same amount of squares here, I'm just winging it just to show you guys. So here's my window, and the same thing with the window. Everything is going to come back to that point here. That way you will stay in line, in perspective line. And I have another window here. So that helps you to keep everything in line. So if you tilted it more, bring that up just a little more. And as I say, as the artist, you have to figure out what's the best way to, and the best and exciting way to show what's going on in the scene. Door, window, and this wall is a little longer than that one, but you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying, hopefully. So if you had to draw that scene over and over again, you'll be able to recreate it again and again. As I've said to some people that I'm helping, when you design a character, you have to be able to draw that character from the front, from the back, from the side. So if you want to do this crazy manga Goku hair, which is like this, or however you want your character, what does that hair look like from the back? What does it look like from the top? So before you decide to go crazy, just throwing anything, any way, any direction, you have to think that you have to draw this character, especially if this is your main character. You have to draw this character 100 times, and people, if they see that your hair is different, they're going to say, it doesn't look like that guy, it doesn't look like that guy. So you have to think about that when you're drawing or designing your character. So back to this. Now, if I decided to put a person here, let's just say we do a person here. We'll do one here. And then one, give his legs a little longer. We'll do one here. Now, we have our vanishing point and our eye line here. The same, what I did, or what you do is, well, I start with the square. I always start with a square like that for my body, and I can round it off later. That way I can use the shoulders to determine where that person, or where it's going to be, what point is going to fall on this vanishing line, on this eye line, whenever I draw a room or background. Same thing here. The legs, the feet will come down like this. So the feet will be on that line. This guy is straight across, so no need. And this guy goes back here. Like that. So he's going to be here. He's going to be on there. And that's the same thing you do with furniture. If I want to do a chair or box, and you can use these squares on the ground to determine where and how something's going to sit. And of course, this is going to go back this way. But if I wanted to do a chair that is kind of like catacornically turned, which is not a word, catacornically turned, I can do something like this. And that's the same thing. It's going to come back to this, and that's going to be more of a 2-point perspective here. That's going to fall on that. But the key point is you have to be able to see what you're going to draw, which means you're going to have to be able to see it from every angle. I'm looking for a piece of something. Let's just say this little Home Depot box right here that I found. So if I'm going to draw this, somebody said, okay, draw this little Home Depot box here. So in my mind's eye, I have to say, okay, now, how am I going to make this thing look exciting to people so when they see it? So I can't just draw it from the top. And see, I can't just draw it from the side like that. So I say, let me get a nice little angle on here like this, which determines my perspective. So the ground is going to have to turn with this, as well as the box, and it's going to have to be in perspective. So if you are doing comics and you are not really good at perspective, you need to do two things: work on your anatomy and work on your perspective just as much as you work on your anatomy, even more, because anything you draw is going to have a room or something, or trees, or some background behind it, unless you're in space all the time. So that's some things that you have to think about, because as I say, you're going to have to turn your image in your mind every which way so that you can see which one would make for a better drawing. So you have to draw panels continuously. You know, why did I turn this panel this way? Why did I get a close-up of this guy? Why did I put close-up of the hands? You're gonna have to think about that. If somebody hands something off to them, how am I going to show it? I mean, I could have showed it in reverse. I could have showed it up and down. I could have showed it from upshot. So, but to me, this was the best way. And let me see if you guys can see this while I'm talking about it. This was the best way to show that shot here. I mean, the hands could have been both coming the same direction, but I put one higher and one lower for personal reasons. So you're going to have to think about that. It's like the land. You know, I had the land at that angle. I could have flattened it out more or tilted it up a little bit more, but I kept it that way. Let's see if I have another one here, which is not really much in background. So, but since I have it, more panels. And this is my Samurai Clown story. And I might not put background in the back of this. You don't have to put background in the back of this, but you do have to say in drawing why this is happening, because you can see right now this guy, he's this is the animal tamer. He uses whips are his main weapons. So this guy's mad because you can tell the expression on the face, and he pulled his whips out. So you can basically tell what's happening in this panel here. This guy's got both his hands up like wait, and everybody else is pulling their little weapons out because they think it's going to be a fight. So to me, I mean, I could have turned that to where he could have been over here and the other guys could have been there, or it could have been a close-up of his head and the other guys could have been behind him. So, but again, in my mind, I turned this around and I said this would probably be the best panel for this piece of the story. That way it left me room for his word balloon and their word balloons as well. And that's something else you have to think about, is doing word balloons. You just don't want to have a large character like right here and he takes up every bit of your panel, because then you have to put your word balloons over some of the characters. So if you're putting a lot of detail into this, and you find out you're starting to cut it off, you're going to be mad, because I remember when I first started, I used to do that. I used to put so much detail into the stuff, like this. I mean, this is not even a lot of detail. I'd put so much detail into it, but I ended up cutting off a lot of the things that I was putting detail into. So that's just something you have to remember. And another thing is, when you do your word balloons, you don't want to, let's say right here, or when you're drawing, you don't want to cross your balloons. Let's just say this guy spoke first, this guy spoke second, this guy spoke third. So because he spoke first, his balloon has to be over here, his has to be here, and his has to be, so they're crossing, the lines will be crossing each other. So if I did like this, let's make sure you guys can see. If it was a word balloon here, and I did him here, then I did him, and I crossed over his, and then I did one for him, and I crossed over that. That's very confusing. Can you actually even see that? Let's see. See if I can take this in a little closer. So yeah, these, I didn't want to go too dark on this. You don't want people's word balloons crossing over one another. So you're going to have to draw it out to where if these guys are all speaking, you want them to be able to speak in order, unless the script said this guy's right behind the clown, this guy's behind him, and this guy's behind him. Then you're going to have to work out a way for them to speak in turn without their word balloons crossing, or their little handles crossing over into each other, because you're saying, okay, who said what and who said what, because they're crossing over into each other. See, he would be fine because his would be over here, or his could be here, and then theirs could be below, but you have to work all that out in your panel. So this is another tip. Okay, now getting back to the checkerboard. Now, something I did to show you guys to make it a little easier, because a lot of people they'll hear what I say, but they really can't get it because they haven't been doing it this as long as me. So they can't, they're saying, well, I almost got it, but I really don't understand. So what I did a couple things so to help you see a little better. So this is going to be my directorial debut, so it'll help you out, and you can probably do the same thing as well. So let me get some of my props. Hold on. All right, so this thing I did, I took an old sketch pad, big sketch pad, and I always keep the backs of these cardboards because this is so thick. It's really good for something. I don't know what, but I hate throwing it away because this is some good paper. So anyway, I took this cardboard and I drew a pattern on it, a little checkerboard pattern on it. So that would be good to use an example, to use as an example, period. So it's the same thing. If you're doing this here, you have your floor plan, which is this checkerboard. Then you want to tilt it to whatever angle you need to show what you're doing in the best light. So if I take this and I tilt this like so, let me show you the front of it like that. You can see that the lines will start to converge. So the more I tilt it, especially if I was further away, the more they would converge to that one point, which would be the vanishing point, which would create your horizon line or your eye line. So I did this basically for this video. I'm thinking ahead of myself, but I'll show you guys what I did in a second to help you guys do it. And you can do this as well. Probably would be better on a smaller scale if you did it. So let me set this up and I will show you exactly what I'm saying about your eye seeing what you have to see to make for a better panel. Okay, so it might get a little shaky from here because I'm holding the camera and this is not like a steady cam or anything like that. So what I did after doing this, I made a little wall. I did a wall, and I'm going to put the wall up. I took some more thick paper and I did some walls and some doors in it to do a wall to represent a room. So let's put that on there now. Okay, so here is the room. These are the walls that I did. These could represent windows or TVs or so forth. You have a door there, you have some windows, or it could be some kind of screens or something, another door here, and a large window or screen or something right there. And I don't know what that long piece is, but I just put it there just because. So now after that, I said what? Let me show you. Okay, so now I've added some figures to the room, and I tried to keep everything to scale. And then I had to add something else. And this is all basically to show you guys what I mean by finding your right angle. So let me add the little extra things to it as well. So each one of them is a step. I should have just put it all together and just called it quits, but let's just do this. All right, now we have everything in the room. Now, as I said, this could be I don't know if I said it or not. This could be basically like a control room, a living room, or whatever. The long piece in the back could be a couch, or it could be a computer station, and the other things could be like little workstations or little work computer stations. But in your head, you have to see this, and this is the easiest way to see this, to draw your panel. And this is going to be one panel, but if you have this and you're doing it the right way, then you can recreate it over and over again. Okay, so the first thing you want to say is, how am I going to draw this? How am I going to show people what's going on in the room according to its importance, shall we say? So in my head, or let's say in the script, you have your 4 characters that are in the room and they're discussing something. And this panel would be just a discussion of whatever they're talking about. You have your objects in the back, and now it's time to draw it in the best way that you can. So in your mind's eye, what you have to do is you have to see this from above. Okay, these are my people. This is where I have all the furniture or whatever is in the room. So now I have to scan around and see what will be the best way to show this. Let me pull back some to show this. Is this a good angle? And remember the lines, the perspective lines. Or do I need to like come down some more to like a foot level here to see the people? Or would I have to come down even more? And that's, as I say, forgive the shakiness because I'm moving like so. And your mind has to see this constantly through every panel that you draw. What's the best angle? Oh, so maybe I will take this wall. And these are just taped walls that I did little feet to. And I can move them around and move them out the way so that I can get a better angle. And I just dropped the little girl. And this is the Figma type. And I don't really like that one because of the feet. These guys actually have shoes on their feet. And these are the Body Kun Body Chan, I think that's what they're called. And they have shoes on their feet. And because 99.9% of the time, if you're doing a character, he's going to have boots, or she's going to have boots, or she's going to have shoes on their feet. This one doesn't, unless you're doing swimming, but it makes it harder to stand. So anyway, back to what we're saying. So in my mind's eye, maybe I want to turn it around like this. And that's a pretty good shot. And let me just take a picture of it while I'm doing it, so I can put that up as a thumbnail. Maybe I need to turn it around some more. Maybe I need to get closer on her head and then still have her. So you're going to have to be able to swing around to every position in your head to find what is the best angle. And as I said, anytime you're drawing, you're only going to see 2 walls, maybe 3 walls. You're not going to see the 4th wall, because that one would be behind me if I'm taking a shot in the room. And let me pause this and fix this wall back, and then I'll go around to the other side. All right, so I took the 3rd wall out and I folded it up behind the other wall. So now I can come around to find a different type of angle. So she is talking to him, and I could turn his head a little bit more without the fear of him falling, to be talking to her, and then have the other 2 still in the background with the doorway and the computer station or whatever that is. But in your mind's eye, this is what you're going to have to do constantly for every panel. Why would you want to do a close-up of them? You have to ask yourself that. If it's not into the script or your script that you're drawing, you have to say, why am I doing a close-up? Why am I doing a shot behind her head or behind his head? So all of these things you're going to have to come up with, and before you draw your panel. As I said, do your floor plan from above. Let me stand up. Get everything placed where you want to. and then start drawing it as best you can, and then start moving your people around. And you can use the checkerboards or the squares to line up your furniture. Say like if this one here was right on the second square, like that, then whenever you draw, you would know. If you have to come back later, you would know exactly where it's placed at. Just like this one, or her, she's like in between the squares. So you can say that, or just put her right on the black square, second black square. This is something that you're going to have to do, as I say, over and over and over. Why am I out of breath? I do not know. So let's talk about panel shapes right now. Now, if you are drawing the book yourself and you kind of know what you want, you can use any shape panel that you want. I mean, if it's your book, you can use any shape panel you want anyway. You can have a heart shape panel, a star shape panel, whatever you choose to do. But crazy shapes like this might not be the best thing to tell a story. If I'm doing a fight scene here, two guys fighting in a heart shaped panel, then you would think that they're in love. Or if I'm doing something here with people, then it might get cut off. A head might get cut off, or a leg might be cut off right here. So the best thing to do is stick with your rectangles, squares, and maybe even a circle every now and then. So let me grab another piece of paper. And we'll do the rectangle shapes. Rectangles and squares, shall we say. Let me make sure you guys can still see this, because I tilt my paper when I draw. So shapes have meanings, and I talked about this in my creating your own comics from start to finish. One of the parts I talked about it. Let's do this, and this could also represent long ways. So now, number one, if you have an 11 by 17 sheet of paper, let's say that's 11 by 17, squares fit in it a lot better than you would have circles and so forth and so on. So that's the best thing to use, and then it's easier to flow from one panel to the next without a circle here or a heart there or a star here. And I talked about it earlier. You want to keep 4 to 6 panels per page, no more than 6, because when you get too many panels, it starts to get cluttered, and then you lose detail and you lose focus, and people are their eyes are all over the panel trying to figure out what's going on, where this is, or who's doing what's the next move, so forth and so on. So 4 to 6 panels would be ideal. So if you have all these panels here, you have a person here, a person there, 2 people here, a face there, 2 faces here, a face there, something there, a tree or something here, and a face. It just gets a little too busy. So you want to stay with, like I say, 4 to 6 panels. And then each panel represents something because of its size. Let's just say this is kind of long and wide. It's good for anything really, but something like that would be a good establishing shot, like you have a long city or something like that. A narrow panel usually means confinement. You could be trapped in something. Say like if you just did a person's face, that could mean like, let's just for example, he's trapped in there, he's in jail, he can't get out because the panel is so tight. Something like a long panel would be good for close-ups, single body shots. It's just a pin-up type of position with some background in it somewhere. But you can put anything in the panels, but it's best to use the right shape and size panel for the right moment of the story. Let's just say if your first scene called for a guy coming into the room, this is the first, you wouldn't want a small panel like that. You'd want something, and it depends on how close of a shot the script said. Let's just say, let me get a different pen that might write a little better. Number 8. The guy was coming into the room, so you could have the door behind him, and the door could be open. Maybe he's got a briefcase or something in his hand. He just came home from work. He's got his suit on. That would be the perfect size so that you can see the person, you know, no doubt about who the person is. You'd have the maybe he's tired, his face is sweating, he's frowning because he had a rough day at work. So something like that would work perfectly versus something like this, because you could do it, but your character would be so small. Then you'd have the door, and then you'd have to have the rest of the room on the side. That would work if the script said he came into an empty house, because you have so much space. You could have your couch here, your television there, something here, something there, and make it a little dark. So that would tell the reader, without even saying it, he's coming into a lonely, dark house, and you can have him kind of hunched over a little bit, you know, look like he's dragging. So your panel would represent the mood or the scene that you need to, I can't think of the word, so I'll just skip it. It'll be down below, that you need to show. And also you have to think about your angles. Let me check my camera again. Do you want an upshot? Do you want a down shot? Do you want to put him to the side? Let's just say the guy was coming home, and it called for like an upshot. Of the guy, and his briefcase is here. You see the bottom of the briefcase. Maybe he's looking down because it was a hard day at the office. And the best thing to do on upshots are to tilt it, because you get a little more room in a panel to do that versus a panel that's kind of straight up. You have a little extra room for your word balloons versus just a straight up shot here. And that would be like this. Like that. You're cutting some of your room off for your words, unless you're going to make the guy a little smaller. And then, as I said, because you're moving it over, you can have room for whatever he has, a briefcase or whatever in his hand. But panel size and shape determines, it creates mood, should I say. It creates the mood. If I did a narrow one, then number one, you won't get much room. Number two, you won't get much room. You won't get much in there. So that's more of a, when you do a close-up, narrow close-up, that's more of a serious kind of a look. You know, you zoom right in on the guy's eyes because he saw something. Maybe it's a monster in the room or something, versus this. He saw the monster in the room, but you would not need all of this unless he kind of like wet himself because he was so scared. But as I say, you would have to work it out depending on the story and the part that you want to tell determines your panels. So when you see that, you would have to, as I said before, look at every angle. If you know the position you're going to put your person in, then start in your mind's eye, start to see what he's doing, what would be the best position for him to be standing in to show people. Where did that picture go? And I took it away. To show people the best possible scene or the best exciting scene. Same way with this. The guy could be coming through the door, he could be getting in his car, he could be running, he could be shooting, whatever, but you want to show the best angle for the best excitement. Okay, back at the drawing table again. Now I just printed out a couple examples of what I'm showing you about like designing your room. So this is a picture from my background folder on my computer, which I have probably thousands of background pictures, because it's easier to find it and just use some elements of it. You don't have to copy the thing exactly, but you can use elements of it, like what shape is a tub, or what shape is a toilet. Exactly what does a toilet look like? So this basically is an easy way to do it. As I say, if you do your overhead view, and this is why I printed it out so I can draw on it, then you say, okay, my tub is against the wall here. I have a little sink here. My toilet is here against the wall. There's a window here. I don't know how long this room is, but I'm assuming there might not be anything else other than the door, like right here. So then when you turn it down like this, make it a little longer, then you have the tub. And all these are squares. Basically, when you do stuff like this, you're just doing squares. That's why I had the little white boxes in the example. So you just go up, you do your back square first, then you take it out, and you have to keep it in perspective. And then the inside of your tub, the sink is just a square. It comes out a little bit like that. Then you chop you create the side, and then you have the little stick coming down here. That's your square. And then the toilet, it would be a square too. Do your back wall up, coming out like that. You can actually come all the way out if you want to. And then you start chopping it off. It comes down. You have this part, which is around. It comes down and curves around like so. And it's kind of hard on the red, but this is not really a drawing tutorial. But that's what you want to do. So as I say, reference is your best friend. It is your best friend in the world. So this is just one picture, and I have another one, and this is, I think it's from a manga. I don't know where I got it from. I had these pictures for so long. And if you can see, let me double check and make sure you can see that this guy, he started out with the rough square, and he did the little curve shape. It's called the bean. Actually, in animation, they call it a bean, because you can bend it like a lima bean or green bean, or what, not green bean, regular bean or peanut, like that. And then you can put the head on there, put the legs on there, put the arms on there, and then you just round it off. Here's the back, here's the hips, here's where the leg connects, shoulder, arms, and then you put it at a desk, which is basically just square, like that. So he started out with this little piece, then he got a little more detail to it. He put the lines, actually put the lines in for the floor, which is basically the perspective lines, which probably go way up here somewhere, probably out here somewhere, and then kept the desk to the perspective line, kept the chairs to it, and even her shoulders are going in that direction. The book is even going in that same direction. So, and then he did the detail, and he cropped off the part that he wanted to keep, and this is your gutter. Right here, this is the part that's getting thrown away, because your next panel would be connected right here. And then this is your gutter, and your gutter is just stuff that just runs off that you don't need, like in a gutter. Water runs off the street into the gutter, goes down the sewer. So that's why it's called a gutter. So as I say, when you'll crop off what you don't need in your panel. So it's good to draw out of your panel so that you know that everything is right. And then just crop it off, erase it. Usually with mine, I'll just do like black borders, because I'll ink out of the border, and I don't want to use white out or do it in Photoshop. So all my gutters are black, majority of them. So here is another one. This is a Cadillac interior. This is the Cadillac CTS. This is my CTS-V. This is my next car. Let me see. Because when have you not seen any kind of show where people were driving in something? And I love this interior. So as I said, that's going to be my next car. Some of it got chopped off. The seats actually came all the way up. And then you can see the headboard, the headrest here, but it got chopped off. But to see something like that, now you know what you have in a car, depending on what kind of car you need, or what kind of car you're trying to drive. And the same thing goes here. You have your perspective going out here, somewhere out here. You have your dashboard. Well, your dashboard is actually curved. Your steering wheel in perspective as well. Your radio, all of that stuff is in perspective. So it just helps you draw when you learn how to do perspective. and a back alley. How many times have you seen a back alley? Every time you see a back alley, there's always a fight. Or should I say there's always a call or need for a back alley, a dark alley, where somebody gets robbed or somebody gets murdered or the gangs meet up. So with this, and this came out darker than the actual picture, because if you download the picture, you can lighten it up and see more details. So now you know what an alley look like. You can throw a couple trash cans in there if need be, some trash on the ground. Simple and easy. This is like a 1-point perspective coming back down here somewhere probably. And the way to find a picture, and I told one of the people that I was helping, I had him draw an office, an executive office. I said, look, just start pulling pictures of offline of not buildings, but interior. And wherever your lines converge at, like this line here, this line there, then you find your spot, your vanishing, or your vanishing point here. And then just redraw whatever you download. So if you downloaded this, I would have him redraw this the way it is. And with the vanishing points, it'll be pretty easy for him to do. So this next one, this is more of an advanced thing, but it's all the same. It's a bunch of squares, twisted a little bit. But yeah, that's a little advanced for you. But if you do this and take your time and get your squares right, you're good to go. Vanishing point, let's just say follow the lines here. These go here, this chair goes here. So it's pretty easy to follow the lines to find out your where your vanishing point is. And that's something you need to work on, is your perspective. You know, if your perspective is off, people will see that, and that'll just mess your whole, not only just your panels, but your whole book. And as I say, when you do a book, you want that book to sell. You want people to notice that book. You want people to love that book so much that they want to see more of it, for some company to buy the rights to it, or go in with you to make, as I say, animation, movies, whatever, cartoons, toys, t-shirts, whatever. And that's the whole goal of trying to do a comic. Okay, I think I will end this video on that note, and I may end up doing a more detailed perspective video, since I did take the time to cut all that out and draw that. And I think visually you understand it more when you see it than just by me saying it or trying to draw it. So I might do a detailed video on perspective using those props, shall we say. So that's going to be it. And please, if you enjoyed it, subscribe, tell a friend, share the video, copy it to your site and let people see it, let people know that I'm out here trying to help guys and girls draw and do their comics to fulfill their dream of becoming a comic book artist. So that's it for me, and I will see you guys in the next video. I'm out.